Hello, I am Inezalea from ToleratedCinematics.com, and today I will be showing you how to create a nice futuristic hut like so. Okay, so what I have done here in this preview is I have created a futuristic hut in Adobe After Effects, and then I have tracked my shot and placed that onto my screen. So it's actually not on there, but it's tracked on there. So that's what we are going to see in two different tutorials. In this tutorial, I will be showing you how to create the hut, and in the next tutorial, I will show you how to track it against your screen in a very easy manner. So let's get started. First of all, I'm going to create a new composition and call this Futuristic hut of the screen, and then make sure it's a resolution of 1920 and 1080 or whatever your screen size is. So I would use the same resolution of my screen right here, and then I will make it about 30 seconds long and click OK. So here's my screen, and I will right click new and add a new solid, and I'm going to call this a background and make it black. Click OK. And then I'm actually going to duplicate that same layer, and I'm going to hit the return key to rename it to grid. So now we have layer grid, and we are going to the effects panel here that we can find here, or at window effects and presets, and search for grid. Here we are at generate grid. I'm going to drag and drop that onto my solid here. So we can see we already have a grid, and that's going to make it look like that futuristic kind of background. So right here I'm going to change this to a width and height slider, or maybe only a width slider so they are equal. And then I'm going to say like 50, or let's start at 50. And then I'm going to change the border to like 1, and yeah, we can keep the color at white. Then I'm going to duplicate that same grid and like so, and I'm going to change the width to 25. And here I'm going to make the border 0.5. So now it's even smaller, and we can see some details in between these grids. So I'm going to press T on the keyboard as well and bring the opacity down to 70%, so it's like a subtle grid in between our regular grid. So that's also pretty cool. Next, I'm going to create a new composition again, and I'm going to create it at a width of 200, or let's say 100 by 100, and click OK. And now in the middle of our composition here, we are going to create like a circle. So first of all, I'm going to rename this composition to circle 100 pixels width, and then I'm going to right click new solid, change the color to a white color, click OK and OK. Then I'm going here to the mask options and choose the ellipse tool. Double click on the ellipse tool, and then it will make a circular mask. As our composition is a square, it will make a perfect circle. And then we're going to double click on our mask and to make it smaller. Hold Shift, Control, and then it will snap to the middle and hold its aspect ratio. So something like this should work, I guess. And let's see how that goes. So we are going back to our composition at the Futuristic HUD screen. Go to projects and import that circle composition into this file here. So we can see our circle right here. I think it's a little bit too big, so I'm going back to my circle composition, click on the mask and double click on it again, hold Shift and Control and make it even smaller. There we go. And what you can also do is duplicate the mask layer here. So if you're going to hold Control and press D on the keyboard, you're going to duplicate the mask, and now you can change it to subtract. And you're actually not going to see anything, or a very small circle here around it. But if you are going to open up the preferences of the second mask and lower the expansion, you're going to see a circle like this. And this is actually pretty cool. If we're going back to this composition, now it's actually too small, so I'm going to redo that. Make it a little bit bigger, just like so, and make the expansion look like this. So now we have a circle right over here. And what you can do now is click on that composition and go over here and enter motion tile and drag and drop that onto here, and then you can just tile it in the width and in the height. So, well, actually output width, and there we go. Okay. And because we have used for the grid 50 pixels and 100 pixels for the composition of the circle, we can see that every circle is at a perfect square of each grid. So that's actually pretty cool that it aligns it immediately, so we don't have to do any other work to get it to look great. So yeah, this is actually looking pretty nice. So right now I'm going to right click and create a new solid and make this as a black solid. And I'm going to rename this to like vignette. And here again, double click on the circle mask here and make it a subtract. Press F on the keyboard to feather it out and feather it like so. And click back on the solid, press T on the keyboard for opacity and lower the opacity. And now we get some depth into our screen. So that's also pretty cool. Maybe lower it even more so it's very subtle, but that makes it look great. Okay. So now we can see our circles. Maybe these are a little bit too intense. So what you can do is lower the opacity a bit. It's all up to you. So if you want to do something different, make this into a square. It's all up to you. So I'm just showing you that this is possible, and this is the way of doing things like this. So yeah, let's continue. Now we are going to right click and create a new solid again, and maybe yeah, just code field maybe, and enter code field, and then we're going to unselect this, go here to the mask rectangle tool, and we're going to drag from one circle to another. So just make like a window, and we're going to make like perfect windows like so. And now if we are going to enable this, we have a square over here. So we can lower again the opacity of the screen, so maybe to 50%. And what we can also do is go to effects and presets, enter stroke, and drag the stroke onto our layer here, and make sure the mask is enabled here. And we can see that we now have a white stroke around our window. So this is actually going to make up our window. We're actually going to move our solid a little bit more to the left, so it's around here. So it's around here, and that's looking good, I guess. Maybe a little bit more to the left. And then I'm also going to give it a title, so like cracking code. And I'm going to use a font Lato, so that's actually a nice font for the hacker type of font. And I'm going to make it very small and place it on top of this window. So another cool thing that I found online is actually a website. It's actually called hackertyper.net. So this is a website, once you visit it, you're going to see it's completely black. And if you're going to start pressing whatever button on your PC, it's going to make like a code, like fake code. So if you're going to type very fast, you're actually looking like a hacker. So what I did is I kept doing this for a little while. So I had some code that looks cool, and I kept doing this. So I'm actually hacking into your computer right now and you don't even notice it, but you'll see. Okay, I'm kidding. So I have some code here, and I'm going to drag on all of the code here. I'm going to right click and copy it. Okay, so here we are back into Adobe After Effects, and what I'm going to do now is actually I'm going to pre-compose this solid here. I'm going to layer pre-compose and make it window code. Click OK. Double click on it, and now we have our code field. And if I'm going to paste my code here, so I'm going to grab the text tool, click over here and paste the code. Once I head back to my Futuristic HUD, we will see our code right here. So I'm going to place it on the left here. And that looks fine. So there we go. More to the right. And get some like distance, like some padding, so it looks all official. So what you can do now is try to find the beginning here. So it's a little bit of struggling. You can tackle this another way, but I did it like this. So, okay. So we're going to start over here. So that looks all right. And there we go. So that's perfect. So what we are going to do now is click on our text, go to Effects and Presets, and it should come with After Effects standardly. So if you don't have it, look again in your install files. You should have it, but if you type text, you're going to find here a folder called text. If you close it down and open it up again, you can see all the animations that you can get that is coming with After Effects. So if you're going to click on Animate In and scroll down to Typewriter, there we go. You can drag and drop this onto your text, and then you can press U on the keyboard to reveal the keyframes here, and you're going to see it's going to type our text like on a typewriter. So this is actually very fast, so that's something that we don't want. We want to drag this keyframe a little bit longer. And this is also pretty fast, but yeah, you should like maybe 12 seconds. And find a pace that you think looks right. And then we're going to go back to our Futuristic HUD here. And now it's actually, you're going to see your text here dragging until the bottom of your window. And then right over here, enter your composition again. Press P on the keyboard, click for a new keyframe, move like a few frames forward with the page down button on your keyboard, and then move it up like so. And then if you're going to go back into your Futuristic HUD, it should be like on top. So it should be around here. And now it's actually going to do and continue typing the code. It's at the bottom again. And then again, we are going to create a new keyframe, a few keyframes forward, and move it upwards. And again, it's going to continue, and you can do this for the complete scene, and then you're going to get some nice animation from code that's been written onto your window, and then it's going to drag it up like so. Maybe even you can do it a little bit slower. So take these keyframes and offset them just a bit. You can also add some motion blur to it, so click on the motion blur and enable it for your layers. You can do that by switching here, clicking on this icon and enabling the motion blur for your composition as well. And then also over here, enable it for the composition, toggle the switches, and do it for the window code. So now if it's going to move upwards, you're going to see some motion blur. So let's preview it and you'll see. Of course, if you enable motion blur, your scene is going to render slowly, so only enable it once you're going to render out your scene. It just gives a little bit more realism. It's not necessary, of course, but yeah. As you can see right here, we have some motion blur going on, and that's pretty cool. And what you can also do is go back to the window code, select these keyframes, right click, keyframe assistant, and easy ease. And that's going to start slowly, go faster, and stop slowly again. So if you don't know what that is, you should look into it. Not going to explain it right now. Okay, so now we have our window code here. And what we can also do is like right click, new solid, and make this audio waveform. And if you want to get more into this and you don't know how to use audio waveform, I have another tutorial. You can check it out in clicking on this annotation. But if you're going to use the audio waveform here and you import whatever audio file you have, so like right here, I'm going to go to the project file and drag this song in here. This is actually a song of a good friend of mine, and we actually started a new channel about this music. So if you want to check it out, I'll link it in the description. But that being said, I have here my song. I'm going back to the solid, going to the effects controls, and I'm actually going to select my song. So that should be Dizzy Tracks. There we go. Okay, and now if we're going to play this, well, I'm going to solo this layer for now. You're going to see it's going to animate using my audio file. So now if you're going to change these things quickly, like digital, change it to a white color. And maybe change the thickness to 2 and change the maximum height. displayed samples, and just play around with these settings, but then you will get something like this, and this can look pretty futuristic. Also, you can go over here and choose like I want digital or lines, whatever you want to. You can also make like a circular mask here, hold shift and drag a circle here, and choose none for the mask here. And then over here at the waveform, you can choose the path and use mask, and then I'm going to get something like this. But play around with the settings. I'm not going to get into this because I already made a tutorial on how to work with audio files. So I'll just do something really quickly here. So I'm going to delete my mask. I actually like this part here. So I'm going to unsolo this and put it over here. Maybe make it smaller. And I'm actually going to duplicate, well, I'm going to get back into the window, copy the code field here, copy it. So now I'm going to create a new solid again and use this as a new window, and use this as a window for the audio files. So I'm going to uncheck it, go back to the rectangular tool here, make a window like so. Put it back on and change the opacity to 50% and add a stroke again. Maybe we can actually just copy this stroke, copy and paste it on here. And there we go, now we have the same kind of window, and now we can position our waveform into that. Okay, and we can then just do like a analyzing audio / decrypting. Whatever you think looks cool, and put it on here. Oh. And then position one over here, or just duplicate this title and drag it down here. Audio options. And you see it's just building up something, so now you can really make something cool with this. Also, what I have done is I created a new composition, made this like 800 by 800, and I renamed this to Circle Random. Okay, and what I have done here is again created a new solid, changed it to a white color and clicked OK. And then I also chose my ellipse tool, double clicked it, and I duplicated my mask, Control D. And then I changed it to a subtract and pressed MM on the keyboard twice, and then again. So it will reveal the settings for my mask. So you can also do this by just, clicking on the arrow, of course. And then I changed the mask expansion from the second mask, and I dragged it down like so. Now I have a mask like this. And then I chose the pen tool here, clicked in the middle, clicked over here, and clicked in the middle again. And then I changed this to an intersect. There we go. So now we have a circle, just a part of the circle. And now if we are going to press R on the keyboard while your layer is selected, you can hold Alt, click on the stopwatch here, and then write something like wiggle, open parentheses, and then like once a second, comma. We are going to change it 180 degrees and close the parentheses and click away. And now if you're going to play this back, we're going to see some random animation, which is actually pretty slow. So we're going to change it to like 3 and see like this. Maybe it's also like maybe 70. Okay, so this is cool. And now we can duplicate that mask, choose the rotate tool and rotate it over here, and maybe duplicate it again and scale it down. Also go in the mask tool, in the mask options here for the second one, and change the expansion so it's like smaller in the circle, and just keep doing things like this until it looks pretty cool. There are a lot of tutorials about this online, so you can definitely find more alternatives to use. Something like this should work easily for you. So yeah, if you have something cool like that, you can go back into your Futuristic HUD here, go to the project here and choose the circle random, drag it into your composition, scale it down and place it over here maybe. Actually, you can use this window and duplicate it and position it over here and make it like square. So choose the mask tool here. Oh, So for this window, and click on these 2 points for the mask and close these like, make a square like so, and then put the circle in there. Now we have like a window with some circle in there that's analyzing something. And you can also, like in the example here, I have made like, let's open my example. Right here, you can also see that I used a map. The way I have done this is I imported my map. So I got an image like this and I imported this into my composition. Then I went to the effects and presets and searched for invert. And I dragged this onto my layer, and then I search for find edges. And there we go. And now we have edges like this. And then I changed, toggle the switches and changed the mode to a multiply. And actually I didn't need the invert, so that's my bad. Or maybe I do on this one here. Invert and just put it below. And change it to screen, of course. So yeah, find edges, invert, and mode screen. And then I had something like this. And also again, I used a window and I placed it like somewhere in here. I'll duplicate this window very quickly. Actually, I'm going to move it first a little bit more to the left here. So we have some place to duplicate this window and position it over here. And just take your time to do these. I'm just rushing through everything here just to show you how everything is done. So now again we can choose this window and our map and go to layer, pre-compose, and yeah, map. Hit OK. And then what I have done as well is went into effects and presets and I searched for line sweep and I drag this onto my layer here. I changed the direction to 0, and then once I move this here, you can see that I had like a scan line. So I put it over here, clicked on the center here for the stopwatch, pressed U on the keyboard, moved a few seconds forward, and yeah, moved it to the other side. And then one keyframe again, and I copied the first keyframe and pasted it over here. And then, well, actually I copied these two here and paste it over here, go to the last one frame forward and paste it again, and then you have like a scanning line that animates over your image. Actually, I should still change the mode to screen here so we can see the background as well. So yeah, that's how I did the map. Another thing that I have done here is, well, actually I'm going to put my vignette on top of this of these layers. And there we go. And I also went to new layer adjustment and I added some grain. So I went to noise and grain, add grain, and change it to final output. And now I have some grain on my screen. So if you're going to look closely, you're going to see some grain if I toggle it on and off. And you can actually change the intensity here to like 3 or maybe 2. And we have some grain, so that makes it look like more vintage, I guess. So now it's like a used screen that is still using like a futuristic interface. And yeah, for the rest I added some random numbers over here. So everything that you're seeing right here is actually very simple to create. So I'm going to show you this and this. I'm going to show you how to do this here and the numbers, and then this that animates a little bit randomly. Like so. So let's get back to our composition. So I'm going to close this down. Actually, I closed it by accident. Okay, so here we are in the composition again. I'm going to click here and right click new solid and maybe make it a white this time. And now I'm going to click on my pen tool and deselect this layer and click over here. Hold shift, click on onto here and just make like a something like this here. And there we go. And now if you enable it, we have a white solid here. And I'm actually going to effects, transitions, and Venetian blinds. Now if you're going to up the percentage here, we're going to see Venetian blinds like this. Change the width maybe to 10 and change the rotation to 45. And now we have something like in the example that I just showed you. And yeah, just play around with some strokes, the opacity of course, and make it lower. And now we have something like this. So that's also pretty cool. For the random numbers, I chose my text tool here and I clicked over here and I entered a random number. So just spam my keyboard a bit, make it bigger and place it over here. Then I went to animation and text animation. So that's right over here, animate text. And I chose character offset. And then I alt clicked on the character offset and I wrote time times 24. And now if we're going to animate this, I'm going to solo this layer. You're going to see that it's randomly generating numbers. So this could be like analyzing something or decrypting something. And you can enter as many numbers that you want, and every number is going to randomly generate. So you can then duplicate this, change the numbers to something else, and then make them smaller. That's actually what I did to add some details to this HUD. So that's also a cool way to add some details. And then lastly, what I have done is created a new solid. And actually I used a window as well, but I'm not going to do this way this time. So I'm going to create a new solid, and yeah, I just made it very small, like so. So then I went to the position and alt click on the stopwatch, and now we're going to enter a code, and that is only for the x-axis. So it's going to wiggle, but only on the x-axis and not on the y. So if we're going to paste this on here, I will add this text, this code to the description, so you can just copy paste it, change it to a value of 2 to 100 or 200. There we go. And now it's going to animate over my x-axis randomly. I'm going to solo it again, so you can see it animates like that. And then you can 200, I made it 2000. That's a small accident. So yeah, that's how you do something like this, and you can make it even smaller maybe. And then just put it somewhere like on top, and it's analyzing something. And yeah, you have some animation going on, so that's pretty cool. And then at the very end, I did everything in white, and then I just created a new adjustment layer and went to color correction tint, and then I made this like a nice blue color. Okay, and then I added some glow, so stylize and glow. And then I duplicated this glow as well and changed it to like radius 250. And maybe lower the threshold. And now we're getting something, so this is pretty cool. You can also change the color of the glow, but it's up to you. And then you can just pick whatever color you want. So if you want a green interface, you have a green interface. Red. Actually, the orange looked quite nice, so I'll stick to orange for now. But if you are going to add an effect like curves, you can add some more contrast to your screen. Oh, this is a bit too much. And then if you're going to the green channel and make like an S curve, you're going to get some contrast like this. And yeah, you can make it look pretty cool. So maybe add some blues, take some away, make it more orange. And then finally you can add another tint, and that's just black and white, and then just lower the opacity so it's not that saturated, so maybe to 50. So now I have a screen like this, and this is actually also a pretty cool screen. And yeah, it's up to you, just play around, take your time to make this really cool. And yeah, you can also import like 3D models and make them rotate, but that's for a different tutorial, I guess. If you're interested in that, leave a comment below. The next part of this tutorial will be on how to import, on how to paste this onto your screen. If you already have like footage from a screen and you want to paste it on there, we're going to do that very easily in the next tutorial. Thank you so much for watching, and take care. Goodbye.